11. And before I even start, this is by far, out of 3 seasons, the longest title for a Titans episode ever in all 3 seasons. This episode is called "The Call is Coming from Inside the House." And because like usually their titles are names of certain characters, or it's just one word, things like atonement, but this thing was like a complete sentence, and that really threw me off. So now when I have to do my thumbnail for this particular episode, I gotta shrink the lettering to fit this whole thing in the, like on the picture. But it should have been called, apparently it should have been called Waterfalls, because that song played all over the place. And this particular episode got broken into many different parts, like many different characters. Like characters were paired up and sectioned off into like their own storyline, which is good because it helps us keep track of everything, what everybody's doing. And it wasn't a situation this episode where certain characters had stuff to do and other characters were just sitting there doing nothing. Except maybe Superboy. So the episode starts with Jonathan Crane, and that's where we'll start. He is in the Batcave, sleeping in Bruce's bed, trying on his clothes. The man got a shave, and it's weird that he looks weirder with with a shaven face. He was going through Batman's archives because, Batman has he has files on all the villains that he takes down. So Scarecrow pulled up his own file. And when he pulled up the file on himself, Bruce said it was like, oh, Jonathan Crane. He basically said Jonathan Crane is someone who's relying on other people. They said that, Bruce said that he needs other people to be the face of what his diabolical plan is, because he's too much of a coward to step out into the forefront on his own. He always hides behind other people, hence the Scarecrow mask and, using the fear. So he basically was like, yo, Jonathan Crane ain't shit. He's not a top level villain. And then Crane got mad, went upstairs, cursed out Jason, and told Jason, we're taking down the Titans, we're going to do it tonight, blah, blah, blah. He also has this weird thing where I guess like he's schizophrenic now, and he has like a dual personality, because the evil version of Crane, the evil-er version of Crane, I guess, was talking to him. He's basically telling him like, oh, you're weak. And he's like, I'm not weak. And he's like, you're weak. And so he's doing his whole thing, and he's going a little crazy. He's now trying to prove that what Bruce's file said about him is false. So he tells Jason, he's just like, go take care of Nightwing and do that shit tonight. Jason then ends up calling Nightwing. And then he ends up telling Nightwing, he's like, oh, let's you and I finish this, the time, the place. But actually, he went on TV and he told the entire city, he was just like, oh, Nightwing, he's a criminal. Nightwing's going down. He's like, I'm going to take Nightwing out. And he said, Nightwing, if you got the cojones, he's like, you'll come down to the place, where it's at, and let's finish this once and for all. So now Nightwing's got the message, and he's supposed to go down there to face Jason Todd, Red Hood, once and for all for their final showdown. Starfire, the last we saw her, she was in the church, and she and her sister had just taken her power. I actually forgot, because Blackfire wasn't in this episode, and I forgot that in the previous episode, because I know that the two of them got into an argument, because again, like Corey said that she accused Blackfire of stealing her power, but I don't remember Blackfire leaving and the two of them going their separate ways. I got to go back and check that out. But anyway, Blackfire is not in this episode. Starfire is by herself. She's walking around looking for a particular woman because she ended up having another vision of a woman and her baby. She finds the woman, she finds the baby. She asks the woman for information. She's just like, oh, can you just talk to me? Tell me about yourself and tell me about your kid. Woman was skeptical at first, but eventually she ended up giving her like the information that, it was very little information. She just told her like her name and like her baby's name. So then at that moment, this guy ran up on them in the alley because I guess the woman that Starfire was talking to had owed that guy money. He drunk the water that you weren't supposed to drink, so now he's all hocked up on non-fear toxin, and he basically pulled out his gun on the woman. He was just like, oh, you gonna give me my money, bitch? And then Starfire stepped in front of the gun, knowing that she doesn't have her power, and she told the guy, she was like, listen, we can settle this other ways without anybody getting shot. And he's like, nah, the only way to get my money is to shoot somebody. And then he shot Starfire in the chest, which shocked the hell out of me, because I didn't think he'd actually pull the trigger. He actually shot her in the chest, and then when she shot her in the chest, she went into she basically went into another vision, into another dream. When she went into that vision, it showed us Tamaran. And it was actually nice to see Tamaran, although we didn't get like a full scale of Tamaran. It was just like, one chamber inside the palace. It showed a vision of when Corey was first born. And the witch doctor, she ended up using her magical mumbo jumbo. And she said that she determined that Starfire actually does not possess the power of Starfire. and she's not the heir to the throne because only the heir to the throne can possess the power of Starfire. The dad, for some reason, like the dad, he lied. He said, well, we'll just lie to the people. He said, we'll just tell the people that she has the power and that Coriander is like the next heir to the throne. So everybody was like, all right, fine, keep the lie alive. And we ran with it. And then Corey saw another vision later on where she was a little older. And then when Blackfire was actually born, Commander, where Commander was born, and then when she was born, the witch doctor was like, "Oh my lord, this child actually possesses the power of Starfire." And then the dad was just like, "Yeah, but we already told, like our loyal subjects, we already told them that Corey's going to be like the heir to the throne. And if we tell them that Commander actually has the power of Starfire, they're going to know that we lied about Corey, and there's going to be this whole big thing." So he told the witch doctor, he was like, "Yo, use your magic and transfer the power from Commander over to Corey." So, the witch doctor did it. Corey ended up getting the power of Starfire. And that's when Starfire realized, she was like, oh shit. She was like, I actually wasn't supposed to have the power. It was always my sister's power all along. So when I used my power to try to save my sister from getting shot in last episode, her taking my power wasn't her consciously trying to steal my power. That was her body taking back what was rightfully hers. And then she kind of like snapped out of the dream sequence that she was in. The bullet came out of her chest, and she ended up turning blue, like this blue light aura ended up surrounding her. She flew up into the air and blasted the guy with the gun with this, with this blue light, and then she passed out. The woman that she helped took her back to her apartment. Then after Coriander woke up, she told her, she was like, "Oh, what is that blue power that came from your body?" And then she was just like, and then Corey told her, she was just like, "It's not new power." She said, "This is the power that was in me all along," which I find weird because because the witch doctor said that Corey didn't possess the power of Starfire, but she wasn't looking for other powers either. So Corey does have power. The problem is Corey's power is a new power. It's a different power. It's not the Starfire power that everybody thought that she was supposed to have. And one thing that I thought was really weird when they did the whole thing with her parents, with Com and Corey's parents, the dad was very profound. He was very prestigious. He was like, "Oh, my child, Coriander, you would be the heir to the throne." The mom sounded like she didn't have an accent. She didn't speak in a royal way. It was almost like the dad was like, bred from royalty. And then like he met the girl at like some random, like community college or like some girl that like lived in the hood or something. It was just very weird. Like that, like the fact that she was talking the way she was talking, it just kind of like bothered me for a second, but now she knows, she said that she has a new power within her that she now has to try to figure out, and now that she has to try to control. And this is good because I never really read the Teen Titans comics, but if we just want to use, Teen Titans, if we want to use any of the DC, like Titans movies that have come out, with Starfire in them, Starfire never had the power of fire anyway. She always had like green bolts that she shot at people. At one point, she was able to shoot green laser beams out of her eyes. She never actually had the power of fire. So, the fact that they gave her the power of fire in the TV show, I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, well, it's cool that she can do that because her name is Starfire, but she's not really supposed to have the power of fire anyway. So if this new power that she has, I don't know why it's blue and not green, but if this new power that she has is supposed to be like the power that we know from seeing her in other iterations on, like on TV, then I'm fine with that as well, because then it's like we're getting more closer to like how she's actually supposed to be. But it's just going to take her some time to try to learn this power. And we're obviously going to Tamaran at some point, hopefully in season 4, because we didn't really get to do that in season 3. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what happens when Corey's new power goes up against, like the power of Starfire, because Blackfire are going to turn on her eventually. Donna and Tim, they met up, because Donna's in the city now. She's trying to, find the Titans. She's trying to find everybody. She ends up linking up with Tim. Tim called her, Miss Troy or whatever. But then, she was, he told her, he was like, where are you going? She told him, she was like, I'm trying to get to Chinatown. And he was like, oh, what a coincidence. He's like, I actually live in Chinatown and I'm trying to go home. And then, then Donna was like, of course you do. She's like, typical Gotham bullshit. So then the two of them go to Chinatown together, and they go to Tim's parents' house. When they went, to the Chinese restaurant, the soul food Chinese restaurant on Crenshaw. So when they get there, they're greeted by the parents, like, oh, who's this girl? And then, Tim's just like, they were like, oh, we heard you were in the hospital. And I was just like, wait a minute. So your son got shot. You heard he was in the hospital. The hospital called to tell you your son was in the hospital, and neither one of you went to the hospital. Like, I understand there's something going on. Like there's people outside, there are crazy people, don't drink the water, blah, blah, blah. But if your son is in the hospital because he got shot, what you're basically telling me is Tim's parents chose to protect the restaurant before they went to the hospital to go see their own son. And I thought that was really strange. So he brings him in, Donna comes in, and then, Tim is just like, I'm fine, mom and dad. And Tim even said that when he woke up from the hospital, there was nobody in the hospital and his wound had healed. And I thought that was strange too. But I mean, I guess they'll tell us about that later because he brought it up for a reason. Like there was no reason for him to actually say that unless it's supposed to mean something later on down the line. Donna had asked if he had like a telephone or internet or whatever. And then Tim took Donna and his parents to his secret, to his secret lair, his secret Tim Drake lair. And when he went into the room, and actually it kind of reminded me of the setup that the Flash had in the Justice League movie, Snyder Cut, of course, and with the TVs and the surveillance. And then when the parents went in the room and saw his whole like setup, the mom was like, "I thought we were storing rice in here," and he was just like, "Yeah, I moved all that," But he told him, he was like, he's like, you guys know how like I know so much about Batman and Robin and how I'm tracking Batman and Robin. He said, "This is how I'm tracking Batman and Robin." He said, "I found all this equipment in the streets. I found like computers and monitors and things of that nature, cameras, this, that, and the third." He said, "I hooked it up and I have full surveillance on the city and I know what's going on in the city, which is why I have all the information that I have." And it boggles my mind that their parents never, if the parents own the restaurant, the fact that he did all that and set all that up and neither one of them ever at any point in life went into that room, that's crazy to me. And then they had the nerve to get upset because they were just like, "Oh, is this what you were doing when you got shot?" And I'm like, "No, I got shot because I was working at the damn restaurant." And then they got upset and they were just like, "Oh, we don't want you doing this." And then they tried to blame Donna. They were just like, "Oh, you're a bad influence on our son." And then Tim was like, "Donna's the reason why I'm alive." And then Donna was just like, "Look," she's like, "Yo, I ain't got time for the family feud." She was like, "Yo, I'm trying to find my team." She said, "Just let me use this boy's equipment so I can find my peoples. And once I find my people, if y'all want to curse him out, y'all curse him out after that. But we got bigger fish to fry than y'all being mad that your son actually has like a superhero computer lab set up in the damn basement." But before she got a chance to actually use the equipment, the police ended up knocking on the restaurant door. When Mr. Drake Sr., when he opened the door, the cops specifically said to him, they asked him, they said, "Who's here in the restaurant with you?" And he said, "It's just my family." And then the cop said, she said, I forget which one said it. One of the cops said, "What kind of weapons do you have to protect yourself?" And then he said, "None." He said, "We don't have any protection." And then the cops are like, "Okay, we'll be back. We'll put you on our route and we'll be back." And then Donna asked what was going on. And then, he said that they come every 6 hours just to ask us questions to get information. And then Tim's cousin, the Asian kid, he came back and he said what happened was, because he said he had an informant or somebody in the GCPD. And he said what had happened was he said that the police basically work for Jonathan Crane. And that particular section of the city where the restaurant is, I guess it's the one piece of the city that Crane doesn't have his clutches on, or Crane wants that specific section of the city for some particular reason. But he said that what they're doing is the cops are casing the joint, finding out like who's going to be a threat, who they can take down easy. Because what's going to happen is the cops are eventually going to come back and they're going to tear down the entire city and they're going to wreak havoc over the city, Drake's parents included, because they already know now that Tim's parents don't have a way to protect themselves. So they're going to come in, bust their ass and take over their restaurant and burn it to the ground and do whatever they're trying to do. They're basically trying to get the people out of the city and they're going to kill his parents. So then after that, Tim was just like, "Well, we're going to stand and fight." The cousin said he's going to fight. Donna was like, "Oh, you and your family should go." And then he was just like, "Nah." Tim was like, "Yo, I ain't no bitch." He was just like, "Yo, I was a coward when I got shot before," but he was like, "Yo, I ain't a coward no more. This is why I was brought back to fight." And he was like, "And I'm going to stay and fight." And then Donna was just like, Donna said to the Asian kid, she was like, "So you got people spread out in different sections all over the place." And then he was like, "Yeah." So then Donna was like, "You know what?" Because remember when Donna was doing the thing where she was fighting the other lady, the lady was like, "Oh, you're a leader, Donna. Like, like you should be a leader. You're the best of us all." So now she's going to put her leadership to the test because she said that she spent her whole life training how to lead an army of 50 people against 500. So it's time for her to actually do that. She completely put the whole Titans thing on hold and she's going to now, she's going to lead the charge with Tim and his family going up against the police and everybody else that drunk the Crane water. I kind of like the fact that Donna's the one that's going to help Tim get put on the path to becoming Robin versus it being Bruce or being, being like Nightwing. I don't have a problem with it being Bruce or Nightwing, but it's actually kind of cool that Donna's probably going to end up training him. Like Donna's going to be the one to train him and help him, get put on the path, but he's going to steal the costume on his own. Because I still say before this, because we're at episode 11, which means we probably got 2 more episodes left, because they usually only get 13 episodes for Titans. I guarantee in episode 13, everybody's going to end up in Wayne Manor for some reason. Tim's going to find his way downstairs and he's going to put the damn costume on. So that's the whole thing with Donna. Like I said, so Donna and Tim now, they're gearing up and they're getting ready to take on the GCPD. And nobody knows where Barbara Gordon is because she got snatched up and she's probably like in jail somewhere. Rachel and Gar, they met up. We saw in the last episode the 2 of them met up. And when the 2 of them met up, Rachel was just like, okay, Gar, let's find everybody. And then Gar was like, nah. He's like, things with the Titans haven't really been that good. And he's like, to be honest with you, like, I kind of ain't feeling them right now. And then he said that we're better off just doing our own thing and being alone. And then, Rachel was like, okay, so what's your plan? And here's where I got lost. Gar basically said that the entire situation that Jason's going to with him being resurrected, he discovered it had something to do with the Lazarus Pit. And then, Gar was like, oh, the Lazarus Pit is the key. The Lazarus Pit is the key to finding out all the answers we need. And when he said that, my first thought was, what answers? Because if Jason was already put in the Lazarus Pit and the Lazarus Pit already brought him back to life, I don't understand the purpose of Gar and Rachel looking for the Lazarus Pit now. It wouldn't serve a purpose. It's not like they're going to use the water to reverse what happened to Jason. And for him to say that the Lazarus Pit is key, I'm like, the key to what? So that whole thing was very confusing. And I did not know from a writing standpoint, from a showrunner standpoint, I didn't understand the purpose of why the 2 of them were looking for the Lazarus Pit. Which leads us now to Dick and Jason. Dick is with Superboy in the place where they were hiding out at. And when they saw the news report on TV, Superboy was just like, oh, let me go with you. And then, then Dick was like, nah. And then Superboy told him dead ass, he was like, yo, I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm faster than you. I can basically go down there, smack Jason up, and I can get this over with real quick. And then he was just like, yeah, but he's like, I need you here. He said, in case any of the Titans reach out, somebody needs to be on comms. He said, I'm gonna go to my apartment real quick and try to look at some info. And he was like, I'll be back. So Dick goes to his apartment or his stash house. Jason popped up on the screen. He was like, you think I didn't know he was gonna come here to check the computer, bitch? And then, the 2 of them had a verbal thing back and forth. And he was like, yo, Dick, just stop playing. Meet me where you're supposed to meet me at midnight and let's get it on. And then, but before Dick left the apartment, he opened like a secret compartment panel, and then we saw a green light. And then when I saw the green light, I was just like, why would he need kryptonite? Like, it didn't make that didn't make sense. So then when Dick goes back to the place where Connor was, he told Connor, he was like, listen, I gotta go fight Jason. And then that's when Connor was like, yo, I already told you, I'm not letting you do this by yourself. You're not going by yourself. I'm going with you. And then Dick was just like, yeah, I was afraid you'd say that. And then the green light that we saw was kryptonite dust. He took the kryptonite dust and he blew it in Connor's face, and then Connor passed out. He even blew the dust in the dog face and knocked the dog out too. So Connor's down for the count. Connor actually got the least amount of screen time out of any character in this whole episode. But like I said, but everybody had something to do. Connor got knocked out, the dog got knocked out, and then Nightwing suited up to go take on Red Hood by himself. He takes on Red Hood. He goes down there. Him and Red Hood get into a fight. Then all the people that drunk the crane juice, that drunk the water, they were surrounding them, watching the fight, and everybody watched Jason get his ass beat because Nightwing ain't one to play with, and Jason should know that by now. Put respect in my man's name. So Nightwing basically beat him up. And then he even held a gun to his face. And then Jason was like, do it. Just know that you did this to me. And then he was like, no, I'm not going to kill you. And then at that moment, one of the spectators had picked up a gun and shot Dick in the back with the gun. And then Dick turned around and he was like, yo, boy, what you like, what you doing? And then he was like, oh, you're Nightwing. You're a criminal. It's like, you're the reason why we're all sick. And then Nightwing tried to walk over to the kid to try to talk him down and get the gun out of his hand. I don't know why he just didn't throw one of the birdarangs at him. But then Jason got up again and Jason started reloading his gun. Dick ended up turning around to look at Jason load his gun. And then the same spectator shot Dick again. And then when he shot him the last time, he actually shot him in the neck. And then when he shot him in the neck, I was like, I know we ain't killing Dick Grayson out here. And then here's the part that was crazy to me. Dick got shot in the neck. He hit the ground because he was trying to close the wound and keep the blood in his throat. Jason was standing there, looking like shocked and awe. The kid who shot Dick was like, oh, I did it for the Red Hood. I did it for you. And then the whole crowd started chanting Red Hood, Red Hood, Red Hood. And then I'm like, yo, Dick is bleeding from the neck. And then the mob proceeded to stomp him and kick him while he was on the floor bleeding out. And I got angry in that because I was like, you're kicking him literally while he's dying. And then it dawned on me, no wonder why Gar and Rachel found the Lazarus Pit, because they're going to throw Dick in the damn thing because he got shot in the throat. And I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand unless Ra's al Ghul is going to pop up in season 4. I don't understand why we're making a big deal out of the Lazarus Pit. It's like, yeah, obviously now that Dick got shot in the throat, we're going to put Dick in the Lazarus Pit to save his life. But why is the Lazarus Pit relevant? I don't understand the relevancy of the Lazarus Pit. And to have Gar and Rachel be the ones to go look for it, that's weird as well. But I don't know. We got to find out something because, like I said, this is the only. I was like, 'cause I love Titans. I have no beef with the Titans. The only issue I got with Titans is the fact that I thought we were going to get more Tamaran and we didn't get enough Tamaran. But I honestly have no beef with Titans. I love where Titans is going. I love the show. I'm just very confused of why now all of a sudden there's so much relevancy and importance put on the Lazarus Pit. But I guess we'll find out as the days, weeks, and episodes come. But we only got 2 weeks left. So they got to tell this Lazarus story real quick as we roll on and see where things pick up in season 4. Because again, the Lazarus Pit and Tamaran better be the focus of season 4 if we're making a big deal out of the the whole Lazarus Pit situation now. So that was it. And thank you for tuning in. So my boy, Young Diggory got shot in the neck. I'm not happy about I'm not happy about that. I mean, obviously he's not gonna die because the show is based on Dick Grayson. Like, it's the Titans, like it's young Richard Gillian Grayson. So I mean, as you can see, I'm clearly affected by him getting shot in the throat. But they'll save him, and then they'll put him in the Lazarus Pit. His mind's gonna go crazy, and Rachel's gonna be the one to reel him back in. So I just don't see the point of where we're going, but we'll find out later. So let me know what you think. Like, let me know what you think about the Lazarus Pit being, having significance put on it. Let me know what you think about each individual character group and their storyline, because again, everybody got a storyline in this particular episode except for Superboy and and Blackfire. And like I said, share your thoughts, questions, comments, and or concerns, and we shall talk about it. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. Hit me up on YouTube as always, where I can respond to your questions and comments and everything. And we'll keep rolling down this Titans train, and we'll see if Tim gets the suit, because we only got 2 episodes left and we got to make the most of it. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next week, keep the hope alive. Until next time, how about this? Yeah!